Have you ever wondered why a woman once celebrated as a symbol of independence, a founder of the new era, is now being called fake, manipulative, and dependent on men by the very public that once praised her? That woman is Meghan Markle, the name dividing America. From $300,000 worth of jewelry to prestigious awards accused of being bought, Meghan has always stood between two extremes, hailed as a feminist icon and condemned as a master manipulator of the media. The question is, who is the real Meghan? A victim of the royal institution and ruthless press, or a woman who skillfully turned every moment into a tool to craft her perfect image? After leaving the British royal family, Meghan began building her own empire, signing multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix, launching her own podcast, appearing on the cover of Vogue, and declaring herself a voice for the modern woman. Yet, alongside the fame came a flood of criticism, from the failure of archetypes to accusations of hypocrisy for preaching kindness while allegedly firing staff without hesitation. The once inspiring image of a brave duchess fighting for freedom slowly transformed into one of arrogance and detachment from reality. So, is Meghan Markle the victim of a merciless media machine, or the very architect of the storm that surrounds her? Leave your thoughts below, because the story of Meghan has never had just one side. In this video, we'll uncover the truth behind the glamour, her career, her public image, and the relationships that shaped the woman she is today. A journey filled with ambition, but also contradictions. So, did Meghan truly build her success on her own, or is it all an illusion carefully staged? Let's begin with the story of how she rose to fame. One of the harshest criticisms Meghan faces is the claim that her success didn't come from talent, but from the men in her life. The most viral quote online says it all. Every place she went, a man took her there. It's sarcastic, yes, but it reflects how the public perceives Meghan, a woman who knows how to use connections to climb the ladder of fame. Before entering the British royal family, Meghan was a mid-tier actress in Hollywood. She played Rachel Zane in the TV series Suits, a supporting role, not particularly groundbreaking, but one that drew attention thanks to her poised looks and confident manner of speech. Though the show ran for many seasons, her character never became iconic. Colleagues from that time recall how Meghan always seemed to appear whenever someone influential was on set, always ready to connect, always saying the right things to be remembered. Even then, many believed she understood that in Hollywood, fame isn't built on talent alone, it's built on relationships. Her father, Thomas Markle, worked in television. He gave her early opportunities, introducing her to producers and opening doors. In one interview, Meghan said, "Every bit of my success began in my dad's car. When he drove me to set," a touching line at first, but later used by critics as proof that her career was built on support, not struggle. Yet Meghan's real turning point didn't come from Hollywood. It came from one fateful encounter. Prince Harry. Before their relationship went public, Meghan was known only to cable TV audiences. But once the news broke, she became a global headline. Articles about her multiplied by the hundreds. Search results for her name eclipsed even Hollywood's top stars. And when the royal wedding finally happened, Meghan transformed overnight, from a modest actress to the Duchess of Sussex, one of the most recognized women on earth. Many media analysts in the US bluntly stated, Meghan's real career began the day she met Harry. A Daily Mail columnist wrote, "Without the prince, no one would remember Meghan Markle." It's a harsh remark, but it carries a point. Much of the spotlight that follows her exists because of her royal title. Those million-dollar contracts with Netflix and Spotify, the high-profile interviews, the global fascination, all orbit around one name, Meghan, wife of Harry. But are those accusations truly fair? Is success through connections automatically undeserved? Meghan herself never denied that Harry opened new doors for her, but she was never just the woman standing behind him. Since 2018, she's taken charge of her own projects, producing her own content, and founding her personal brand, Archewell. She often speaks about owning her story, and even though many of her ventures have failed, That persistence proves she isn't someone who simply relies on others. More importantly, in a society still shaped by deep gender bias, women are often judged more harshly than men for how they achieve success. When a man marries into wealth, he's called strategic. When a woman enters a powerful family, she's branded as social climbing. Meghan has become the perfect example of that double standard. She never denied the help she received. From her father, from past partners, from Harry. But does that really mean her achievements belong to them? The truth probably lies somewhere in between. Meghan is both opportunistic and strategic. She understands the power of image in the media age. She uses every relationship as a stepping stone. And that, more than anything, unsettles people. To the public, a woman who dares to break molds and take control of her own narrative often seems threatening. And Meghan, whether admired or despised, continues to embody that very image. Still, if much of her success stems from other people's fame, is Meghan slowly losing her own identity? When every accomplishment is tied to the man beside her, can the image of an independent founder still be believed? If she hasn't built it entirely herself, is she instead crafting an illusion of independence? Let's see how she presents her version of authenticity. While Meghan Markle often calls herself a role model for the modern woman, independent, successful, and inspiring, many argue that this image is nothing more than a carefully curated facade. The accusations have grown louder, especially those claiming she's insincere, saying one thing, doing another. Meghan brands herself as a self-made entrepreneur, yet much of what she owns, her wealth, her fame, her commercial influence, comes from Prince Harry and her royal title. Critics argue she doesn't create value, she monetizes the illusion of independence. One of the most cited examples happened when Meghan appeared on television saying she doesn't believe in hierarchy in fashion, insisting that a woman can shine in Zara just as she can in Loro Piana. Yet only days later, she was photographed stepping out of a car wearing a $5,000 Loro Piana coat and a luxury Italian leather bag. On social media, thousands called her out, accusing her of deliberately wearing affordable brands for select appearances to seem relatable, while living a lifestyle completely detached from that message. One Twitter user wrote, "She doesn't live like us, but wants us to believe she understands our lives." And it didn't stop there. At a charity event hosted by Kevin Costner, Meghan appeared beside Harry, smiling gracefully as she spoke about kindness and compassion. But the press immediately noticed her $300,000 jewelry ensemble, including a Cartier watch once owned by Princess Diana. Commentators called the moment tone-deaf, the image clashing with her message. Hollywood host Billy Bush summed it up bluntly. Everything Meghan wears screams luxury, yet she keeps preaching simplicity. The quote went viral, cementing her reputation as what many now call the face of modern hypocrisy. Her defenders argue that Meghan is simply maintaining the elegance expected of a former royal, that she shouldn't be forced to dress like an average person. But the public's patience is wearing thin. It's difficult for audiences to reconcile her constant talk of empathy and understanding while she lives in a multi-million-dollar Montecito mansion. And when she declares, "My goal is to help women feel confident, no matter who they are," people can't help but ask, if that's true, why are the fashion products she endorses priced far beyond what most women can afford? ChatGPT deny Meghan's public image, as a result, has become deeply conflicted. To the public eye, she seems to crave admiration as a symbol of sophistication, yet also longs to be loved as an ordinary woman. She poses on magazine covers in luxury fashion, but claims she loves the simplicity of everyday life. She speaks passionately about compassion, but former staff have accused her of being cold and controlling. These contradictions have led many to believe that Meghan's relatable persona is nothing more than a carefully engineered PR construct, a failed attempt to create empathy. The real issue with Meghan isn't her wealth or fame. It's the widening gap between what she says and what she does. The more she tries to appear humble, the more distant she seems. Media psychologists argue that Meghan has fallen into her own trap. She wants to be both an emblem of elegance and a symbol of authenticity. Two images that simply can't coexist. The result? People no longer believe her. And once the public loses trust, even the truth starts to sound hollow. Perhaps Meghan truly wants to be loved and understood, but the way she expresses it often feels condescending. When someone claims to relate to the working class while wearing hundreds of thousands of dollars in diamonds, the message loses all weight. And that's exactly why Meghan is so often accused of being inauthentic. So, if Meghan truly wants privacy, why does she appear everywhere, on TV, at events, in promotional campaigns? Is it the instinct of a celebrity who can't let go of the spotlight, or a calculated strategy? Let's explore her behavior more closely. One of the biggest contradictions in Meghan Markle's image lies in her relationship with the media. While she constantly complains about paparazzi invading her privacy, she continues to appear in perfectly accidental public moments. So much so that people have started to ask, is she really a victim? Or is she the one pulling the strings? The New York incident in May 2023 is a prime example. Meghan and Prince Harry claimed they were involved in a near-catastrophic 2-hour car chase with paparazzi after attending a charity event. The story dominated headlines, echoing the tragedy of Princess Diana. But just a day later, the NYPD issued an official statement. No high-speed chase occurred. No one was injured or arrested. The contradiction left the public bewildered. If there was no dangerous pursuit, why did Meghan and Harry describe it like a scene from a thriller? Were they exaggerating to spark attention? It wasn't the first time Meghan was accused of staging paparazzi moments. Since leaving the royal family, she has been spotted time and time again at heavily photographed locations, from Beverly Hills and Montecito to downtown Los Angeles. Paparazzi sources have admitted that they occasionally receive tips about where Meghan will be, even with specific time windows. Photos of her buying flowers or picking up her kids circulate instantly, giving the impression that she remains a cultural centerpiece even without her royal title. But when coincidences happen too often, people stop believing they're coincidences. Were these truly spontaneous moments, or part of a carefully managed media strategy? A source in Los Angeles once recalled Meghan showing up at a luxury restaurant with a full filming crew, irritating other guests with constant repositioning to get the perfect shot. When staff politely asked them to quiet down, Meghan reportedly smiled and said, "It's just work." The story spread quickly, reinforcing the idea that she doesn't want to escape the spotlight. She needs it to exist. This contrast becomes clearer when compared with other celebrities. Take Adele, for instance, one of the most famous voices in the world, yet rarely seen outside of her performances. She once said, "I don't want to be the news. I want my music to be the news." Or Natalie Portman, who manages to balance fame and family life while maintaining privacy through discretion and grace. They prove that privacy can be protected if you truly want it. So why does Meghan, the self-proclaimed advocate for privacy, keep showing up exactly where the cameras are? Many media strategists believe it's part of a deliberate visibility strategy. In today's digital age, fame isn't sustained by talent. It's sustained by constant presence. Every accidental photo, every leaked story keeps her relevant. And with every headline, her personal brand grows in value. Some even argue that Meghan has redefined what it means to be a media victim. Instead of running from attention, she turns it into currency. Every time criticism flares, she answers with an interview, a documentary, or a truth-telling article. The cycle repeats, and the result is undeniable. Meghan Markle never disappears from the news. No matter how many people say they were tired of her, she always finds her way back into the spotlight. ChatGPT deny. Some analysts have called this Meghan's paradox strategy, the strategy of contradiction. The more she complains about attention, the more attention she gets. Every plea for privacy becomes new material for the media to feed on. And Meghan, whether intentionally or not, always ends up at the center of the storm, while Adele and Natalie Portman choose silence as their refuge. Meghan chooses visibility as her weapon. In truth, no one can deny that Meghan understands how the American media machine works. She was once an actress, part of the entertainment industry, and she knows the golden rule. Silence means disappearance. So instead of letting others control the story, she controls them by creating a new narrative before anyone else can. Whether that's intelligence or manipulation depends entirely on how you see her. But the final question remains, has all this attention helped Meghan build the empire she dreams of, or has it only damaged her credibility? Let's take a closer look at how her business ventures have unfolded and in many ways unraveled. When Meghan Markle announced the launch of her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, many saw it as her declaration of independence, proof that she could stand on her own after leaving the royal family. She appeared in a carefully curated promotional video, soft natural lighting, fruit baskets, a luxurious Montecito kitchen, and the gentle tagline, "Nurture, create, and share." But only a few months later, the project became a lightning rod for criticism, not for its ambition, but for its perceived artificiality and lack of substance. The brand's debut product was an orange marmalade, gifted to celebrities and friends including Chrissy Teigen, Mindy Kaling, and Kris Jenner. They shared glossy photos of the glass jars labeled American Riviera Orchard Montecito, featuring elegant handwriting and rustic packaging, a blend of luxury and artisanal charm. But soon after, analysts discovered an inconvenient truth. The marmalade wasn't developed or produced by Meghan at all. It was a white label product, industrially made goods repackaged under a new label. Business expert Dana Lowe remarked bluntly in an interview, "This isn't an original brand, it's a labeling stunt. Meghan didn't make a product. She hired someone else to make it and just put her name on it." According to an investigation by the Daily Mail, the so-called handmade preserve was mostly industrial frozen orange pulp, manufactured by a supplier that produces ingredients for multiple private labels. The phrase organic homemade preserve printed on the jar was therefore considered misleading to consumers. Beyond the product itself, American Riviera Orchard has faced legal hurdles. According to filings from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the brand's registration is still incomplete because the name Orchard conflicts with several existing trademarks in the food sector. Experts have called Meghan's decision to announce the project before securing legal approval premature and careless, a sign of inexperience in real business operations. Even worse, sending out promotional gifts before having an actual commercial product led many to believe that the entire campaign was never about building a brand, but about keeping Meghan's name in the headlines. Her marketing approach also came under fire for being more performative than practical. Before any product was released, she uploaded a cinematic-style teaser on Instagram. Meghan, in a white dress, smiling as she whisks batter and arranges flowers, all in slow motion to classical music. The video looked like a trailer for a romantic film, but revealed nothing about what was being sold. No prices, no launch date, no product information. Commentators said she was selling a story, not a product. And indeed, after the initial buzz faded, American Riviera Orchard released no new items, launched no official online store, and quietly vanished from public conversation. The issue isn't just commercial failure, it's the crumbling of the image Meghan has tried so hard to maintain, that of an independent, visionary, inspiring woman. When your handcrafted products turn out to be factory-made, your trademark is still unregistered, and your business operations lack transparency, people begin to wonder, is Meghan truly a founder, or just the face of another PR campaign designed to sustain her narrative? Media strategists believe Meghan is employing what they call a personal brand halo, monetizing anything connected to her name, from podcasts and documentaries to marmalade jars. But audiences are growing more discerning. They see through the surface. Projects like Archetypes, her podcast, were canceled early by Spotify. American Riviera Orchard faded within weeks of launch. Together, they point to one truth. Meghan isn't running a business. She's running an image that sells not through value. In the world of business, image may open doors, but quality is what keeps people in. Meghan seems to have forgotten that. When the illusion of luxury and her self-made founder narrative began to crumble, American Riviera Orchards became more than just a commercial failure. It was a major blow to her credibility. With these setbacks, the question now is, why has Meghan's image grown so toxic in the public eye? And why do all her branding efforts seem to backfire? Let's find out. Meghan Markle's public image was once seen as a symbol of courage, a woman brave enough to walk away from the British royal family to live a free, self-determined life. But only a few years later, that image has flipped. Today, when Western media mention Meghan and Prince Harry, they often use the phrase a highly toxic brand. The couple once praised for modern values are now seen as the embodiment of contradiction, complaint, and manipulation. This shift didn't happen overnight. It built up over a series of actions that slowly eroded public trust. During her time as a royal, Meghan was accused of bullying staff. According to the Times, at least 2 personal assistants resigned in tears, while others described the work environment under her as tense and fearful. Buckingham Palace launched an internal investigation, but the findings were never made public. Meghan denied the accusations entirely, yet the damage was done. The public began to believe she wasn't the gentle, kind-hearted figure her image suggested. The controversies didn't stop there. They extended to her humanitarian work as well. As a global ambassador for World Vision, Meghan was expected to champion causes for underprivileged children in Africa. But some former staff alleged that she prioritized photo ops and filming over the actual mission. They recalled multiple interruptions during charity visits for lighting adjustments or better camera angles, turning goodwill trips into orchestrated productions. One anonymous insider put it bluntly, sometimes it felt like she was filming a documentary about herself, not helping anyone. Over time, these stories painted a consistent picture. Meghan cared more about managing her image than making an impact. Royal News Network, a prominent royal commentary channel, summarized it this way: Meghan and Harry's image has become extremely toxic. Any brand or organization that partners with them must weigh the reputational risks. That wasn't an exaggeration. Several companies that once signed collaboration deals with the couple have since quietly backed out or scaled down promotion, afraid of public backlash. A clear example came after Netflix released Harry and Meghan. Instead of earning sympathy, the couple faced accusations of profiting off their trauma and turning pain into a product. From that point on, every public appearance, whether at charity events or women's empowerment talks, drew skepticism. Audiences began to wonder, is she speaking for change or for attention? The more Meghan tried to tell her truth, the more people felt she was performing. Every interview, every documentary repeated the same narrative, that she was a victim of the media, of the monarchy, of sexism. But that repetition wore thin. Viewers grew tired. Many felt that instead of staying silent, improving herself through action, Meghan kept retelling her story to stay in the spotlight. And that's precisely why her image turned toxic. She was no longer seen as someone fighting for truth, but as someone who doesn't know when to stop talking. Even in the United States, where she once hoped to be embraced as an independent celebrity, the response hasn't been kind. A 2025 media poll showed that Meghan and Harry's favorability in America had dropped by over 40% compared to their first year after leaving the royal family. Many Americans now describe them as professional victims, divisive, and untrustworthy. Once an image becomes tainted by that kind of perception, rebuilding it becomes almost impossible. The question now is, can Meghan regain public trust? In theory, yes, but it would require a complete transformation. Stop complaining, stop trying to control the narrative, and start doing something genuinely meaningful. The public can forgive mistakes, but not inauthenticity. Meghan will have to prove, through actions and not words, that she still has something real left to offer. However, so far, none of Meghan's efforts have been enough to reverse that image. The harder she tries to rebrand herself, the more distant she seems to the public. And once an image becomes toxic, everything attached to it, from projects and contracts to awards, is met with skepticism. Even as Meghan Markle's public reputation continues to decline, she somehow keeps appearing on lists of honorees at various award ceremonies. Each time, her PR team presents it as well-deserved recognition for the tireless work of a modern female founder. Yet behind the flashing cameras, many believe these awards are little more than strategic publicity tools, designed to keep the Meghan brand alive amid mounting criticism. A prime example is the Signal Award, which Meghan received for her podcast Confessions of a Female Founder. While her inner media circle hailed it as a major milestone in her creative journey, industry professionals saw it differently, with raised eyebrows. The reason was simple. The Signal Awards aren't determined by an independent jury or creative merit. Any individual or company can submit their work for a fee. In other words, it's a pay-to-play award. Winners aren't necessarily chosen for the quality of their content, but often for their ability to manage publicity and promotion. Many podcast experts describe it as a push stage rather than a true competition. And in Meghan's case, all signs point to her taking full advantage of that system to create the illusion of achievement. What puzzled critics even more was that Confessions of a Female Founder wasn't a standout production. The series had only a few episodes. Produced by Archewell Audio, Meghan and Harry's own company, and never once entered Spotify's top 10 charts. Reviewers called it a dull echo of archetypes. The earlier show canceled by Spotify for low listenership. A Daily Telegraph editor even labeled it a snooze fest. So how did a low-performing, uninspired, and barely heard podcast win an award? Observers say it comes down to the self-nomination model of the Signal Awards. Entrants pay submission fees, and if shortlisted, they can promote themselves as international award nominees. For someone like Meghan, media-savvy and reputation-conscious, it was the perfect opportunity. After the win, Archewell Audio quickly released a statement praising Meghan as a pioneer bringing women's voices to the global audio space. Yet major outlets like Variety and The Guardian barely covered the news. They saw it for what it was, another attempt to maintain the narrative of success and relevance, even as most of her recent ventures failed to deliver. Another detail added to the doubt. In Meghan's award category, many other winners were small, little-known media outlets, most of which had also self-submitted their entries. That made Meghan's win look less like a triumph and more like a calculated publicity exercise. Once the public learned that anyone could enter simply by paying a fee, the title of International Award winner lost much of its weight. This led to a broader question. If Meghan truly is the talented founder she claims to be, does she really need awards like this to prove it? Or does her reliance on them expose a deeper insecurity about her actual value? One social media comment put it sharply: Meghan's building a trophy case full of empty medals, shiny, but hollow. From a communications standpoint, this fits Meghan's familiar pattern, crafting small wins to offset bigger failures. Each time she receives an award, she posts photos, gives interviews, and delivers speeches about overcoming bias. The words sound empowering, but the message never changes. I've been misunderstood, but I'm still standing. And after hearing it so many times, people have stopped believing it. When genuine acclaim fades, Meghan seems to rely on the illusion of success. Awards like the Signal Award help her sustain the story that she's still rising, even when the numbers say otherwise. And that, more than anything, is why the public continues to drift away. They see the effort to preserve an image, but not the substance behind it. Shiny certificates may give Meghan a place on stage, but they can't make people forget the cracks in her real life. Because the bigger question remains unanswered. If everything is just a layer of PR polish, what's truly happening in her relationships with family, friends, and even Harry himself? Let's look at what those once close to Meghan have said. In countless interviews, Meghan Markle has often spoken about how she values friendship over fame. She's declared that female friendship is a real source of strength and emphasized the importance of being there for each other in difficult times. Yet, looking back, few of Meghan's friendships have lasted more than a few years. Since leaving the royal family, most of her old friends have quietly distanced themselves. Even those who once defended her publicly have fallen silent. One of the most telling examples is her friendship with Chrissy Teigen, a relationship once loudly celebrated, but filled with signs of superficiality. When Meghan launched American Riviera Orchard, she sent out jars of her handmade marmalade to several celebrities, including Chrissy Teigen. Teigen posted a polite thank you on Instagram. "Thanks, Meghan, for the lovely gift." But only weeks later, when asked about the product, she admitted she had left the jar somewhere in the kitchen. What seemed like an innocent comment revealed something deeper, that their friendship might have existed only for show. There were no family get-togethers, no photos of their children playing together, even though both had once said, "We hope our kids will grow up as close friends." What looked like genuine closeness turned out to be a social exchange. The situation became even more striking when considering Chrissy Teigen's personality. Known for her sharp sarcasm and history of online trolling, Teigen had faced heavy criticism for cruel remarks about other celebrities. Someone like her clearly didn't align with the kind and compassionate woman image Meghan has tried to project. Many wondered, why would Meghan befriend such a controversial figure unless it was for publicity? Commentators believe their friendship was transactional. Both women were public figures trying to recover their reputations after personal scandals. By publicly supporting each other on social media, they each gained something. Meghan secured a new ally in Hollywood, while Teigen enjoyed renewed visibility after a wave of backlash. But as attention faded, so did the connection. No private outings, no genuine moments. Just a few online posts and a forgotten jar of jam. Chrissy Teigen isn't the only one. Meghan's list of former close friends once included Serena Williams, Priyanka Chopra, and Jessica Mulroney. All powerful, influential women. But over time, they too drifted away. Serena no longer mentions Meghan in interviews. Priyanka skipped Harry and Meghan's coronation appearance, and Jessica Mulroney, her longtime best friend, was cut off after a public controversy on social media. Those who were once described as sisters have quietly vanished from her circle without explanation. Media psychologists suggest Meghan tends to form relationships based on mutual benefit. As long as a connection brings her value, visibility, networking, or image, she maintains it. But when that value fades, so does the friendship. It's why many say Meghan doesn't really have friends, only temporary allies. In Hollywood, where image is everything, such relationships aren't uncommon. But in Meghan's case, they backfire, exposing the calculation behind her supposedly heartfelt words. The contradiction becomes clearer when comparing her words to her actions. Meghan preaches about female empowerment and genuine connection between women, yet often associates with people whose reputations contradict that message. She speaks about kindness, but chooses friends accused of bullying. She claims empathy is the heart of friendship, yet gives the impression that she's more interested in who she's seen with than in who she truly connects with. That's why the public has started to ask, does Meghan really have true friends? If every relationship serves a personal purpose, is there still room for sincerity? People who've worked closely with her describe Meghan as meticulously image-conscious. Even in private, every meeting, they say, feels choreographed. Every word has intent. As a result, those around her often feel they never truly know the real person behind the performance. Her isolation, it seems, is self-created. The more Meghan tries to build connections, the more distant she becomes. Because once people sense that friendship is just another instrument of strategy, any closeness loses its meaning. And perhaps that's why Meghan is increasingly seen as someone living in her own world. One where friendship isn't built on trust or shared experience, but on calculation. And if she no longer has the respect of her friends, who does she really have left to compare herself to? In the world of entertainment and media, Sometimes the contrast between two people can reveal more than any commentary ever could. If Meghan Markle represents controversy, bold statements, and a life constantly framed by the spotlight, then Emma Bath embodies the opposite: calmness, grace, and authenticity. Two women from the same public sphere, yet their choices in self-expression have led them down completely different paths, one chasing attention, the other letting her character speak for itself. In recent years, Emma Bath has become a media favorite, celebrated as a symbol of natural elegance and quiet strength. She isn't loud, doesn't shock with statements, and rarely speaks about herself. Instead, she focuses on what she calls the lasting values of life: family, work, and kindness. In a podcast episode hosted by tennis icons Serena and Venus Williams, Emma appeared as a special guest to discuss the power of calm. Both sisters praised her as a woman who listens, who doesn't need to dominate a conversation, yet makes everyone feel respected. What made that conversation especially notable was what wasn't said. For nearly an hour, no one mentioned Meghan Markle, even though Serena was once known to be one of her closest friends. Viewers couldn't help but notice the silence, a deliberate one. While Emma Bath was being celebrated as the embodiment of poise and balance, Meghan had seemingly been written out of the circle she once belonged to. Observers have pointed out that this difference defines the two women. Emma Bath doesn't rely on media campaigns to build her image. Her actions and way of life do that for her. When she appears in public, her minimalist style, gentle tone, and understated presence project sincerity. People trust her because what they see is what she truly is. Meghan, on the other hand, despite often talking about her truth, gives the impression of someone constantly curating a version of herself that feels carefully edited for approval. Many once admired Meghan for being a strong, rule-breaking woman, but over time that image has lost its credibility. She speaks of compassion, yet often finds herself at the center of conflict. She advocates equality, but does so draped in expensive jewelry and rehearsed speeches. She says she longs for peace, yet remains surrounded by chaos. Meanwhile, Emma Bath, without any PR machinery behind her, continues to be loved simply for her natural warmth and consistency. The difference between them runs deeper than demeanor. It lies in their understanding of influence. For Meghan, influence means being seen, being heard, being present. For Emma, it's the ability to inspire without effort, without self-promotion. One is loud and assertive, the other quiet and genuine. And in today's world, audiences can feel that distinction. Increasingly, people gravitate toward those whose authenticity comes through in action, not slogans. During that same podcast, Serena Williams said something that resonated with many listeners. Strong women don't need to shout about being strong, they just keep doing the right thing. That simple line captured the entire contrast between Emma and Meghan. Emma doesn't need to prove anything. Meghan, however, seems to be fighting endlessly for validation. The more she explains, the less people believe. The more she talks, the farther away she feels. It's not that Meghan lacks talent or purpose. It's that she's lost balance between her image and her reality. When someone constantly positions themselves as a symbol of compassion, the public naturally looks to see if their actions match their words. With Meghan, that gap feels too wide. With Emma, simplicity itself becomes proof of character. And so, when the two women are placed side by side, the difference is striking. One chooses the spotlight, the other chooses serenity. One tries to control the narrative, the other lets it unfold naturally. The result is clear. Meghan has become a figure distorted by the very media she tried to command, while Emma stands as proof that quiet integrity still shines the brightest. With all the controversy and contradictions surrounding her, the ultimate question remains: what lesson does Meghan Markle truly leave behind for the public and for those who followed her journey? After years of conflict, failed ventures, and public doubt, Meghan now stands as a reflection of a larger question about fame and authenticity. Her story isn't just about a woman navigating high society. It's about how modern culture treats celebrity itself. We admire those who are genuine, and we turn away the moment we sense artifice. Perhaps only when Meghan stops trying to manage her image and begins to live genuinely as herself. Will she find the trust she's lost? Do you think Meghan will keep going down the same path or change to reclaim her image? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of today's most influential public figures. Thank you for watching until the end. Join our community to discuss, share, and explore more fascinating stories together. 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 Together.